From a ruthless villain who killed thousands of players to a mastermind who faked his own death, when you think of Unstable SMP's worst villain, one name probably comes to mind. But chances are you're probably thinking of the wrong one. This is why Ashwag vs the Director isn't close. Let's start with who everyone thinks is the answer. Ashwag, the leader of the Invisible Mafia, a player so confident in his own power that he literally didn't wear armor because he knew he didn't need it. He built the biggest faction in Unstable history, forced innocent players to join or die, killed his own members when they failed tasks, and even set up a master stasis chamber so that if he died, everyone in the Mafia died with him. Thousands of players held hostage by one person's life. That's generally insane levels of evil and control. Ashwag's methods were brutal and direct. He teleported "You smell like Updog" straight into the void for simply revealing he was the leader, which is crazy when you think about it. He destroyed entire civilizations including the Fallens just to prove a point about his dominance. And when Parrot and Wifies finally had the chance to kill him and end all the suffering, they couldn't, because killing Ashwag meant killing everyone they cared about who was trapped in the Mafia. But here's where things get interesting. Everyone knew Ashwag was evil. There was no mystery about it, no illusion, nothing hidden. When you saw invisible players running around, you knew the Mafia was coming for you. When Ashwag showed up at your base, you knew someone was about to die or be forced into his cult. He operated completely in plain sight because he didn't need to hide from anyone on the server. His power came from fear, from having thousands of members, from controlling almost the entire server at one point. As for the Director, nobody even knew he existed until it was too late. Think about that for a second. While Ashwag was out here building an entire empire and making himself the most hated player on the entire server, the Director was operating in complete secrecy, and for the longest time nobody had any idea who he actually was, or what his endgame even looked like. Even when Bat, the bounty assassin team, dedicated themselves to hunting him down and finding his identity, they couldn't figure it out. They even started accusing Parrot of being the Director, which is honestly wild. Now let's talk about their actual methods and how they approach being villains. Ashwag's power came from external force. The Mafia had thousands of members spread across the entire server, but the moment Spoke destroyed all the stasis chambers, the Mafia ended just like that. His entire empire collapsed in a single moment because his power relied on systems and structures, and other people doing his work for him. Before I get into the Director's true power, let me tell you about this video's sponsor, Pine Hosting. If you've ever wanted to make your own lag-free Minecraft server, Pine Hosting is one of the cheapest and best server hosting out there. And it's not just Minecraft hosting, they offer a wide range of games like the ones you see on screen right now. The prices generally cost less than McDonald's. And they even gave me a code so you can get 30% off with code MASORY. I personally use Pine Hosting to host my servers, and if you want to do the same, click my link at the top of the description to check it out. The Director's power was completely internal and psychological, which is far more dangerous. He didn't need thousands of players working for him. He didn't need invisibility or complex stasis systems or massive faction with ranks. He needed one single thing: understanding exactly how Parrot thinks and what motivates him. Let's actually look at what the Director accomplished with this approach. He hired It's Real Me, who is literally Minecraft's best player, one of the most skilled PvPers to ever exist, to hunt down Parrot. It's Real Me explicitly stated that he hunted Parrot specifically because the Director told him to. Just think about the level of influence and power required to make a player of that caliber just follow your orders without question. Then came Mr. Cube 6, and this is where it gets really insane. The Director taunted the entire Bat team by mentioning a yellow dandelion, which was such a small and specific detail that literally nobody should have known about it except the people who were actually there. This single moment proved to everyone that the Director knew everything about them. Every conversation they had, every move they made, every tiny detail about Parrot's entire life. And here's where it gets even crazier. When Bat finally managed to imprison Mr. Cube for the second time, thinking they finally had the upper hand and caught one of the Director's people, the Director just used the stasis chamber to teleport him out like it was nothing. Then in the very next page of the book Mr. Cube left behind for them, the Director wrote this: "Don't worry about Cube. His job is done. Not because you beat him, but because I said so." Read that message again and let it sink in. The director didn't even care that his assassin got caught and imprisoned by the enemy team, because getting caught was literally part of the plan all along. Every single loss was calculated, every failure was intentional and served a greater purpose. Ashswag lost permanently when his stasis chambers got destroyed by Spoke. The director never actually lost anything, because losing was just another step in the story he was writing, which is terrifying. But perhaps the most disturbing part of the director's methods is Paragon, which is Minecraft's most secure prison ever created on Unstable SMP. Every single escape attempt that Parrot made was predicted before he even tried it. He tried using a fishing rod to pull Wifies off a flying machine to escape, but he got predicted and countered immediately. He tried crafting a wooden sword to crit him out and fight his way free, but he got predicted and stopped. He tried to fake an escape through the nether roof while secretly going somewhere else, but he got predicted and he got caught. He even tried dropping dripstone from above to kill Wifies who was AFK, and you already know it, he got predicted. It was literally like watching someone play chess against an opponent who's already seen every single possible move you could make 10 steps ahead. Parrot wasn't fighting against a person anymore. He was fighting against a script, a story that had already been written with one possible ending that the director had decided from the start. And remember how the director controlled Bat and used them against Parrot. He didn't threaten them directly, he didn't attack them with force or try to kill them like Ashwag would. He used their relationships and friendships against them as weapons. Jumper Hood, the Rapture and Lilwook weren't hired as prison guards for money or power. They were used as leverage against Parrot's own emotions. This is something Ashwag never actually understood about control. Ashwag thought control came purely from fear and direct threats. The director's control came from a completely different place. It came from love and obsession and deep understanding. From knowing that Parrot would never abandon his friends, never stop trying to save people, never give up on someone he cared about no matter what the cost. And that's a type of control you literally can't break by just getting stronger or better at PvP, because fighting against it means betraying everything you are as a person. Let's talk about intelligence levels between these two villains. Ashswag was smart, there's no question about that. He manipulated Spoke by pretending to be poor and hopeless to gain his trust, so he could get access to important books and information. He used fear as a matter of control very effectively, but the director's intelligence was on a completely different level that nobody else has reached on the server. He tracked every single item in Parrot's inventory down to the exact number. But here's the scariest part about all of this. The director did everything I just described while everyone on the server thought he was completely dead. He faked his own death by replacing himself with a tame dog that he named Wifies. When Ashwag dropped him into the void in front of Parrot, what actually died was just the dog, not the real Wifies at all. From that moment forward, Wifies became an invisible player, operating as the director while Parrot thought he lost his best friend and had no idea. Think about the level of deception and planning required to pull something like that off. Ashwag manipulated people through direct threats and fear tactics that everyone could see. The director manipulated reality itself and made everyone believe he was dead. Ashwag's motivation was pretty simple and straightforward when you break it down. He wanted to take over the server and rule it completely. And he almost succeeded in doing exactly that. But the director's motivation was far more disturbing when you really think about it. He didn't want power over the entire server like Ashwag did. He wanted complete power over one single person, which was Parrot. Every action he took, every trap he built, every manipulation he orchestrated was designed with one purpose: to keep Parrot safe by controlling every single aspect of his life. And that obsessive need to protect someone by controlling them is actually far more terrifying than just wanting to rule a server. When the director finally revealed himself to Parrot in that prison, he explained everything that led to this point. He talked about the specific moment in the end when Parrot separated from their group to serve as a distraction so others could escape. The moment when the director knew Parrot was in serious trouble but was completely helpless to save him or do anything about it. And from that point onward, he said it happened over and over again. Parrot sacrificing himself for causes that only existed in his head, and the director being unable to protect him from himself. So he made the decision to fake his death, build an entirely new identity from nothing, hire the best players on the entire server, manipulate entire teams and factions, create elaborate prisons and orchestrate everything just to prove one point to Parrot: that he couldn't be safe on his own and needed to be controlled for his own good. And here's the part that really shows the fundamental fundamental difference between these two villains. Even at the very end, standing on those pressure plates where one wrong move would kill them both instantly, the director had already won everything he wanted, because the only reason Parrot escaped at all was because he managed to smuggle in a spyglass, dropped it onto the pressure plate to hold it down, and then walked away to freedom. And the director, seeing his prized spyglass sitting there on the plate, the same one Parrot had sacrificed so much to save earlier in their journey together, stepped off his pressure plate to pick it up. The director died not because Parrot outsmarted him or was more intelligent in that moment, but because the director chose his emotional connection to Parrot over his own life in that final second. That's the core difference between these two villains that nobody talks about. Ashswag would have let that spyglass burn in lava without a second thought if it meant surviving. The director couldn't do it because that item meant too much to him. So who's actually the worst villain when you break down everything? The one who killed thousands of innocent players for power and control, or the one who psychologically tortured his best friend out of obsession and twisted love? Well, when it comes to pure calculated psychological evil and manipulation, it's honestly not even close between these two. The director is Unstable SMP's most terrifying villain by far, and what makes it even scarier is that he genuinely never thought he was the villain at all. He thought he was the hero protecting his friend from the dangers of the server. If you enjoyed this breakdown and analysis, make sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments who you actually think is worse between Ashwag and the director. And if you want to see more Unstable SMP character analysis videos, check out the video on screen. And goodbye!